A warm welcome to anyone watching this video. This evening, or today, I'd like to talk about the spring because it's spring here in the Netherlands. So if you're in the Netherlands, like me, you're experiencing spring as well. But are you experiencing spring? When I was walking through the park today, I noticed that a lot of people have headphones on. And quite often they're walking with a dog. Now, I don't get that because when you have headphones on, you don't hear what's going on around you. And I don't like that feeling when I can't hear what's going on around me. Perhaps because I'm very nosy and I like hearing other people's conversations. But you're cut off from your environment in a way when you've got headphones on. And that can be exactly what you desire, to be cut off from your environment. But I don't really understand it in the context of walking in forest or in the park, because you miss so much that is happening around you. So that made me think further about how we so often get distracted from what's happening in our bodies and so out of touch. As somebody said, I was in a video I was watching recently, that we're also moving more and more to the idea that we can do whatever we like with our bodies. There's more and more research going on into prolonging human life. There are more and more technical approaches to changing your body, more and more medical approaches developed. And of course, there's a huge pressure to look in a particular way, not only for women, but also for men. So there are a lot of people suffering from this. What has that got to do with spring and birds and all that? Well, I think it takes us further away from our earthly being, as it were. We are part of nature. We are part of earth. And when we close ourselves off for the cues that are around us, I think we also tend to close ourselves off for the cues in our own bodies. And if that happens, our body will start to protest. I talked a little bit about this in an earlier video about the wisdom of the body. But I think this is increasing, and there is a movement away or out of the body and the increasing reliance on technology. I was also watching another video about the development of headphones which could sense neural connections in your brain. And the idea, which I found utterly horrendous, was that these neural connections, the patterns in them could be interpreted and fed through to your employer, your boss of that, wherever you're working, so that they could keep track on whether you were really focusing at the task that you were assigned. So if you were daydreaming about somebody you really fancy or going on holiday, it would turn up in your records. Now, that just seems to me utterly appalling. The idea was that you could help people to become much more efficient. But who benefits from that? Is it really helpful to people to make them concentrate more on the task that they're doing for their employer? Who does that benefit? Personally, I thought this is not a good development. I know there are more and more people who are also using wearable technology, which measures their heartbeat, their blood pressure, everything. And I am a bit concerned about them too, because they take us again. We are looking at something outside of ourselves to tell us how we're getting on inside in our bodies. Now, I know it would be ridiculous to say that our blood pressure shouldn't be measured or that kind of thing. And some of these technologies can be really helpful in medical settings and can be, really useful for tracking down problems at an early stage. But I think the danger is that we can get far too reliant on them and again not trust our bodies, what our bodies are trying to tell us. I was also moved, but yeah, I was moved by a conversation that I watched recently between two people involved in healthcare. One was a professor of immunology, and the other was a nurse educator. And they were talking about how the personal contact with the patient is so important because there are so many very subtle cues that can be picked up in personal contact that cannot be so easily noticed in, for instance, a teleconsult. And since a lot of medicine is moving online, this is a real problem. In addition, many doctors are really not educated to be able to make a diagnosis on the basis of those subtle cues. And the tendency is more and more to send people off for tests. Now, I talked to a young man I know who is a doctor himself. I found it very interesting to get his views on that. And he said, well, these tests are also very, very helpful because you can get it wrong. And well, there's always well, not so much in the Netherlands, but in other countries, certainly there's danger of people suing you. So next to the fact that it's not good for the patient's health if you make the wrong diagnosis. But the two men that I was just talking about, they were discussing how the doctors are losing that ability or not even taking it seriously, their own perceptions or their intuitions about their patients, and that people are losing out a lot on the way, including the doctors themselves, because they're working again in a removed way. So yeah, all this is about, why am I talking about spring? Spring to me brings me more into my body. It reminds me of the cycles of nature. It feels like life is surging back again. And I know some people may not be experiencing this at all because they may be having a very hard time. They may be ill. They may be very troubled at the moment. And there has just been the dreadful earthquake in Turkey and Syria, in an area that I know well, having travelled there. So yeah, if you are lucky enough to be in a safe environment and where you have the bandwidth to enjoy the spring, please do it. Because nature is very reliable in that way. She will always come back. She holds to her promises. And perhaps we need to come back more into our body and more just really appreciating all the amazing experiences of the human senses. So enjoy your spring. Oh yes, and another thing, and it's on the same theme really, I'm giving a retreat workshop in Tuscany in May with my very dear friend and colleague Faye Blake, and it's all about coming into your body, coming home in your body and coming home in the world. I think we need more of that as a counterweight to all the technological developments, which are wonderful in a lot of ways, but can be very detrimental if it goes too far. So if you're interested, have a look at my website. I'll put a link beneath as well, May 14th till the 21st. And if you fancy it, join us. Bye.